Hello and welcome back. Today I have an interview with Kate Robertson-Kelk from ECM, Evolve Coach Mentor Consulting, and she's going to talk to us today about personal branding and how it will affect you both online and offline, what you can do to ensure that your personal brand is under your control, and how your personal brand can affect your employment both in getting a job and in keeping your job.
Okay, so with social media being as big as it is now and with so many platforms available, what is personal branding?
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. Personal branding is about how you define yourself or how you brand yourself on both online and offline. So offline being through your job application documents, so like your resumes or and application letters and that sort of thing. So what are you telling people, especially in the job market, but especially also how you're meeting people face to face. And so when I was talking to some grade 11 students the other day, still that face-to-face impact is so important. So if you're going to go through to some of those recruitment days or those university open days, that face-to-face is still going to make a fairly significant impact for. So because you're putting a face to a name to a face, your online personal branding is through your social media platform. So whether it's through, and also any websites that you might be associated with as well. So what's your online reputation through those social media platforms? So like your Facebooks, your Instagrams, but also if you're looking for a job or even in a business, your LinkedIn profile is probably the most significant one that you're trying to get, promote yourself.
Yeah, okay, so when we are meeting people face to face, it would be important then that what you say face to face and what is demonstrated then on your online branding are consistent.
That's right, exactly. So you're trying to make that branding really consistent. So whether your professional photograph should be consistent across all your social media platforms and a website. If you've got a business, on your website, so the photos should be consistent across all those different platforms, different channels. Also, what you're putting there, that message that you're putting out there should be consistent as well. So if and we'll probably get to this a little bit later in the interview, is, well, if you're putting something negative out there, this is what these employers, recruiters are going to see.
Yeah, okay.
And how do we how do we improve that damage control, basically?
Well, and I guess like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you really had a lot of control over your personal branding because it was really just about the time you met with an interviewer, you controlled your resume, and you rarely, unless you were in a sort of small town, your employer would rarely get to know much more about you other than what you showed them during those interviews. And that's just not the case anymore, is it?
No, that's right, because so many, and I suppose this is where it's becoming more and more significant, and it's going to keep changing, is because we're attached online basically with everything that we do. So and most jobs that we're applying for are through cyberspace, online sort of thing, through these online platforms, and and we'll get to a couple other more detailed things shortly. But when you're applying for these jobs online, because, and why they've got to do it like that is because so many people are applying for jobs. So there's no way they can filter through. I know in Toowoomba, for example, for admin jobs, they're getting 200 plus applications for just an administration officer role. There's no way they can sift through and read 200 applications. Yeah. I mean, even with Queensland government type roles and picking on the administration officers, because it's a fairly, I suppose, common type of role, they're getting 100 plus applications for those.
Yeah, wow. So you really want anything that you can to kind of keep you ahead of the others, and it really wouldn't take much to knock you down a peg or two if your social media or your presence online was not as as it's presented when you see face to face.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So, you're a piece of paper, or you're a piece of paper in cyberspace, so to speak,
Yeah.
until you can get into, again, as we're saying, to make that face-to-face impact sort of thing at that interview level. So, but it's getting through that online system to be able to make that impact. So, if again, what I was going to say is with applying for these jobs through online, but firstly, they're going through these application tracking systems, which are, keyword rich, scanning systems that, government organisations are using, the big private organisation, even Seek are using, looking for scanning for keywords in your document, which then relates back to your those job advertisements. You're trying to show how you meet their requirements through that job advertisement, through your document, how you're selling yourself through those documents.
So what about with some of these social medias, you've got different levels of privacy and all of that sort of stuff. How private is that?
Not very, because even though you might have privacy, say on your Facebook, they once you, and I heard a very good story the other day, you might have private, but if you start sharing something and someone shares that, well, look, you're out there, sort of thing. I had a very funny story the other day. A con artist, so to speak, had his Facebook setting on private. His wife didn't. He was claiming money, saying his wife had died. They'd just been out to dinner. The wife wasn't on private setting. Said, "I'm out to dinner with my husband, Joe Blow," and voila, he was found, sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, you owe us some money. Your wife's not really dead.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so,
actually, there was one that we shared on our website recently where a driver was driving and splashing pedestrians on the side of the road. And now he didn't share it. Actually, someone else had a dash cam and recorded him driving in his company vehicle, splashing pedestrians. And essentially that went so viral that the driver did end up losing his job. So it's not even about what you share necessarily. It could be what other people share.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, exactly. So, you think you've got on privacy settings, but, the way, obviously, Facebook and these social media sites, no. So, I mean, yes, obviously you might be a little bit protected, but it depends on who the next person, what their settings are, and, if they, as you said, if they start sharing it. So, yeah.
Yeah. So how do employers use these social networks? So what kind of steps do they take to investigate, I guess, an applicant or an employee?
Okay, so what's happening in the job market at the moment, and one that I've been researching at the moment, is this, it's probably the most powerful recruitment automation software that's out there at the moment, which is called Intello. And it's been used by big American companies. They're using this software first part of their recruitment process to vet their or vet and shortlist their candidates, basically. So basically what it does, it's one software that will screen your all your social media sites, and it will build, and it's so powerful that it can build a profile on a candidate as well. So for example, if you're a graphic designer and you might, maybe you work full time, but you might do a bit of freelance work on the side, you might have a website to, promote that business. It can build a profile scouring the person's online portfolio of their website. It can check out all her social media sites that, she might be promoting a business on social media, or, sharing with friends. You might have a personal one as well. And it can basically, this software that can then work out how often she changes jobs, what sort of salary range she's looking for. And if they find anything negative, you can't change that profile. But as part of that online, that reputation damage control, whatever you'd like to call it, or online reputation management, you can then start putting things. Let's pick LinkedIn for instance. You can maybe start putting some things. LinkedIn is very keyword driven. It's like a Google search if someone's trying to look for you on LinkedIn. Start putting things on like that. You might have done a new training course, or you might have got some new professional skills. You might have won an award. That will then help your profile trying to start getting out of that damage control if they start seeing something negative about you, but because it's working on algorithms and stuff.
So that brings together a whole heap of your different presences online and creates one profile about you.
Yep, that's right. As I said, that's in America. I know I was speaking to a client just recently, and she said she was working for a national company here in Australia, and they said they were using something different, but probably not to the extent of this one that I've just been doing some research on. But there is, obviously in Australia we're always a little bit behind what America's doing. So those things are starting to happen, sort of thing. So yeah, but some of those platforms they're using, they're scouring your social media. It's obviously a lot more effective than doing a Google search on candidates and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, many employers that I've worked for over the years are now doing checks of Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, that sort of stuff, mostly just to check out what kind of sharing they're doing, what kind of profile pictures they use. It kind of gives you an idea of the type of person. And it's cool because it is really judgmental, because we don't really know them at this point. We're really just judging them on a couple of pictures. But that is the nature of the internet, isn't it? That we can.
That's right. And I know Seek is using plugins as well, where they are again through those plugins with Seek. So if you've got your Seek profile looking for jobs and that sort of thing, if you come up anything negative on social media through that plugin that Seek's using as part of their vetting process or shortlisting process of candidates, again, well, they're taking that into consideration as well as part of that shortlisting process.
So I don't want to scare everyone. It's not all doom and gloom about the internet. How can we kind of take control back of our personal brand especially when it comes to that online space? Like, we all know how to look after our resumes, and we need to think about how we present ourselves at interviews and that sort of thing. But when it comes to that online space, sometimes we don't necessarily know or remember what might come up if people look for us. How can we take control back of that?
Again, yeah, I mean, obviously, as we've probably touched on a little bit, obviously, be very consistent with photographs across those social media platforms. Again, your bio on your LinkedIn profile's got to be, consistent, probably across with your resume and your LinkedIn profile. So getting across the same things that you put on the bio on your LinkedIn and also in your summary of your resume. Obviously, I think I did a post the other day about some of the mistakes of personal branding. So, and I spoke about, not lying, not stretching the truth, that sort of thing. Again, that consistency with your branding, trying to highlight some of those, your strengths or attributes that, as we were saying before, if you've done a new course, try and highlight that. If you've gained some new skills, highlight that. So that, as we're saying with LinkedIn, it's very keyword driven. So, if they're looking for something, let's say, an administration officer, and they're looking for someone that, is experienced in SAP, for example, make sure if you've done SAP, put that onto your LinkedIn profile. So make sure you're keeping it up to date all the time. Your education and your skills and your jobs are kept up to date all the time. And
so you can kind of outweigh with positive. So if you've got really good stuff to share, you can outweigh some of those negative things, maybe some bad profile pictures that you've used over the years with showing what you've been doing of late and how that's right ability to do the job.
That's right, exactly. And there was something else I was going to say, and I've forgotten the point, but that's all right. So try and put those, as you said, try and put those positives out there rather than the negatives. If you can clear any of that negative, get rid of it. Obviously, obviously they can find you if they have to, but yeah, trying to always step it up with those positives and the new skills and the new strengths that you might be getting, or the new training courses and that sort of thing. Also, that's the other tip I was going to suggest, especially on LinkedIn, if you're in an industry that and you want to try and give some of your industry advice. You might be in a particular industry, whether it's sharing of, some industry posts that have been out there and putting some of your own comments on it, sort of thing. Obviously, be apolitical and all that sort of thing, that it's not going to, get out of context, obviously, but yeah, so, as they say, it's not just always talking about you, but trying to share what other people are doing in your industry. So you're trying to show that you're a bit of a, not an industry expert, but you've got comments to share of your particular industry.
Yeah, that's great advice. I never really thought about the posting thing. So actually sharing information that relates to the industry that you're looking at or that you're already working in can reinforce your experience in that industry as well.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Things are popping up on my screen. Yes, that's right. So you look like that you're adding, and again, you can do that on Twitter as well. Twitter's not just about sharing everything, but giving a bit of insight, knowledge of the industry as well. So so they can see that you're just not out there your social media is not just out there for your social life and all that sort of stuff, but obviously LinkedIn, you've got to be very careful with that, with it's not a social site, it's more of a professional site rather than being a social site.
And I guess it also shows a real interest in a job, because I know when we do interviews and that sort of thing at work, it's really easy for people to say, oh, this is what I'm interested in. But when you go through maybe their social medias, there's not a lot about it. So if you're going into someone's LinkedIn and you can see that they really are showing an interest, and it reinforces what they've said to you, maybe face to face or in their resume.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, actually, one of the other things that I thought we should probably mention is things like your email address. So
yes, exactly. Yeah, so make sure it's a professional email address, because these days it's not going to be always it's one of the things they're seeing, obviously the first thing on your resume, but if you're trying to be professional, you've got to be professional in all areas. So whether it's your email address or how you come across and that sort of thing. Because obviously, if you're not going to be professional, why would they consider looking at you, sort of thing?
Yeah. And I mean, some of them can paint some really interesting pictures about applicants, if they're boozehound98 at Hotmail or whatever. You really need to think about what your email address might say about you. And the same with your voice message. So if you're applying for jobs and you are hoping for some phone calls back, then maybe check what your voice message says, because I've seen some interesting or heard some interesting ones over the years.
Yes, I have too over the years. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a very good point. So that's right. Be professional across all areas. So and come back to that consistency as well, because it's all part of your personal brand, how you present yourself, even in, as we're saying, it's not just the online presence, but the offline presence. How do you dress when you go to that interview and presenting yourself? Because as they say, the first 3 minutes could make or break you, how you present, because everyone, I suppose it's human nature. People depict a picture of you, when you walk in the door of something, sort of, we all become a little bit judgmental, I suppose. But you notice someone if they're really, very well dressed, don't you? So it's sort of, and it sticks out in your mind. So you want to do that when you go and meet people in an interview and that sort of thing. And unfortunately, because
about an interview where a girl, she was really, she came in quite professional. She had a lot of experience, and this is probably maybe 6 or 7 years ago now. But we noticed that the hem of her pants was stapled up with staples. So I don't know if they had fallen down in the morning and this was the quickest way that she could fix them. But in the end, that's how we then remembered her, was the girl was that the one that had the staples in her pants? Like, you really got to think about all these little things along the way.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Because those first pictures create a picture, don't they, of a person? So that's right, exactly.
So where can people go if they want to get more information about checking their own personal brand, or maybe getting the right advice to build the brand that they want for the career that they're looking at?
Yeah, so if you're looking at, I'm sort of promoting them as personal branding packages, which includes those job application documents and your LinkedIn profile, and but customising to the client's needs. Also, I'm trying to extend into. I've just done a couple of small businesses as well, just doing a bit of an audit of their personal branding on their online personal branding, and giving them some tips and strategies of how they can improve their personal branding. But also have just done and we'll be doing a couple more for some of the high school students, doing some personal branding workshops. So just to educate them basically on the do's and don'ts of personal branding, and especially when it's so crucial in that age group where they live online basically. So I've here to offer those services.
Well, I'll put all of your details on the end of this video, and I'll also link it in the article that relates to this video as well, so that people can contact you through your website. Well, you've got a Facebook page as well as LinkedIn. So I'll put all of that so that people can find you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you so much for coming on today. This whole topic really interests me, I guess, as someone who is kind of in the generation that the internet came midway through my life. And we've seen it really build, and I think about my son, who's he's 4 at the moment, and his whole life is pretty much on the internet. His birth photo was on my Facebook page, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to continue on. So you do want to have some kind of control over what that looks like for him into the future. Yeah,
that's right, exactly. It's just going to be so important for them, and I mean, it's going to be their life, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and scary in some ways.
Very scary, very scary.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Katie, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you, Kathy, for your time. Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed the interview we just had as much as I did. I really found it eye-opening to see how much the internet plays a part in our careers now. 3 big takeaways that I took from our interview. Number 1, consistency. So Kate mentioned it a few times. It is important to be consistent both offline and online when it comes to your personal brand. So your job application, your resume, as well as your social media profiles all need to create this consistent message about who you are. Number 2 was to add positive content whenever you can. So every time you gain a certification, if you win awards, that sort of thing, make sure you share it on your professional profiles. Make sure that you're involved in the industry that you say you're interested in. So that's joining groups, sharing content, and just showing a positive regard for the industry that you talk of. And number 3 is think about your audience. So when you are looking for work especially, just know that most employers, whether they have the technology to really create this online profile for you, as Katie spoke about, or not, they will definitely check you out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of those things. So make sure that your profile picture is what you want it to be, and that it's portraying an image that you would like to share with a future employer, as well as your email address and your phone message bank as well. Now, I'll add a list of key tips that Katie shared on our website so that you can get further details there. And we wish you the best of luck in your career crusading endeavours. Have a good day. And don't forget to check out Katie and Evolve Coach Mentor, or ECM Consulting, and get as much information as you can. She shares some really great content on her Facebook page and on LinkedIn. It's definitely worth a look at.